my live stream. My name is Haas, and I thought that I would just kind of start this live stream by just kind of walking to the space where I'm going to be doing some outreach today. So I figured that I can give you guys a little bit of a buffer time, I guess, to get here before the outreach begins. It's a beautiful day out here in Chicago. It is quite hot though. I don't have my microphone plugged in yet, so if you're hearing a lot of background noise, that is precisely why. But it's a nice day here in Chicago. Let me flip the camera here so you guys can kind of see out over the lake. How beautiful here. How beautiful is that? We've got a dirty word over there. Overall, it's pretty busy. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. So, yeah, I don't have my microphone plugged in yet, so I'm just using the phone. So I will plug that in. So, yeah, I'm able to kind of back away from the phone a little bit more once the outreach begins. But I'm just walking. I'm crossing the Chicago River here, so kind of see a nice view there. Old Glory there. So thought that I would just kind of start a little early while I'm walking, try to build some hype up a little bit perhaps. Hopefully everybody's ready for some outreach, get some people to go vegan, and just advocate for animals in the way that we would want people to speak up for us if we were in the position of those animals who are being violently brutalized and oppressed by the millions, billions, even maybe trillions every year. So our mission is very important here, and I'm appreciative of everybody who's here. My name is Haas again, and my purpose here is to set up a little outreach stand and advocate on behalf of animals. Yes, Carrie, let's make some new vegans. There's some crazy shit happening over here. Not sure what's going on. Oh, I know. Oh, I remember now. Today is the day that they're gonna really see. There's this rubber or this duck. I guess it's for the Special Olympics maybe, but the city's doing this thing, or someone's doing this thing where they're gonna release like 80,000 ducks into the Chicago River. The city likes to mess with the river for some reason. So like, you know, on St. Patrick's Day around then, the river gets dyed. And then I have a second before I cross the street, so maybe let's just explore what's going on here. Looks like there's maybe there's a bunch of like rubber ducks all around. That's what they're gonna kind of release into the river. Does it say Duck Derby? Chicago Duck Derby. So yeah, I guess they haven't released them yet because we just did look into the river and there were no ducks there. But I guess it's coming, and I guess supposedly the city sets up some barriers so that they're able to pick up some of the ducks so they all don't get like kind of loose and unaccounted for. It's kind of interesting. Seems like a lot of hassle, if you ask me. But anyway, I'm about to get set up for outreach. It is extremely hot. It is, I believe, 85 degrees right now with a high of 86. So it is quite hot in Chicago right now. I can cross the street over here. I'm definitely going to find some shade. And I have some really cold water with me, so I should be able to stay out quite a bit. Got 95% battery, and yeah, I just had a huge meal. I did a workout before then. I took my B12 this morning, so I'm all charged up. Carrie says environmentally friendly. Well, the ducks all get collected, I guess, at the end of the whole ordeal. So I doubt that anything really kind of like leaches out into the water. But yeah, I guess if they're not able to keep track of all of them, then that would definitely be an issue. Oh, I just almost got hit by a bike. JM says, don't all these people have jobs? Chicago is very tourist heavy in the summer. Carrie says, is this your phone? Yes, it is. I don't know if you guys see a difference. I watched my stream back yesterday, part of it, and I definitely do see a difference. The connection on this phone seems stronger, and the video seems a little bit sharper as well, like smoother maybe. Sorry, I'm just setting up my tripod here. But yeah, I definitely can see a difference in the quality. I think the internet connection is just a little bit stronger on this one. Of course, like lighting and that kind of stuff can change your results a little bit, but yeah, on the whole, I think that this one. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate your telling me it looks cleaner. Helps me overcome buyer's remorse. No, I'm kidding. I don't have buyer's remorse on this. I'm actually very, very happy with this phone. I've been using my phone all day, and my battery's only down to 94% right now. I just dimmed my screen just a little bit too. And yeah, the modem is stronger and all that good stuff, so I'm happy. Okay, so let me take a little drink of water. For anyone who's here, I'm holding the sign that says, come participate in a social experiment. And the idea is to help talk to people about animal rights and veganism, see if I can get some people to align their actions with the values of caring for animals, if they hold those values. If they don't, there's not really much that I can do. Whitby says, what city? This is Chicago. You might recognize it from this famous tower over yonder. Kind of one of Chicago's iconic buildings. It's known as the Sears Tower. They renamed it, but people still call it Sears Tower. I'm right downtown, and we're about to get started here. Oh, and I need to plug in my microphone. Silly me, I almost forgot. Okay, so the sound is going to change. You might be able to hear me okay now, but once I back up from the phone, I will definitely need my microphone. But to everyone who's watching, thank you for being here. I see 32 people in the chat, or watching in the stream. If you want to let me know how long you've been vegan, if you're vegan, or it could still be cool to just write that in the chat. Maybe have some inspiration for others. Okay, so my microphone is on. Could someone please let me know, is the sound okay? Did you hear the change in the sound? Does it sound better? Does it sound worse? Hopefully it still sounds good. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Sound good, thank you. I don't know how to pronounce that because the letters seem like not English, but thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Navia, thank you. Less background noise now. Thank you, Whit. Good to know. All right, so holding a sign. I know it's mirrored for you guys, but it says, let me lower this a little bit too. It says, come participate in a social experiment. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. No time like the present to get started. Thank you to everyone who joined me on my walk on my way here. Erwin, thank you for being here. And by the way, Erwin, if you would like to be a mod, I would love to make you a mod. So I'll add you as a moderator. And I know you do some awesome moderating work. And if you don't want to be a mod, tell me and I'll demod you. Because I see Erwin here a lot. And I think Erwin moderates on Chip's channel and does an awesome job. So glad that you're here, Erwin. And yeah, let me know if you don't want the wrench, and I can remove it. So to anyone who's just joining, my name is Haas. I'm holding this sign. It says, come participate in a social experiment. My goal is to talk to people about veganism and animal rights and see if I can get some fresh converts, so to speak. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, Mike says, smokers exist too. Smoking still kills you. I'm not sure. Smokers do exist. Smoking still kills you. Yeah, smoking is definitely hazardous. Hello, would you like to join? Are you over 18? Okay, great. I'm live on YouTube. I'm not asking for anything other than just an open mind. Okay, great. Would you mind coming in the frame? Welcome. There are 37 people watching all around the world. What's your name?
Grace.
Grace? Cool. My name is Haas. Would you mind coming back just a little bit, just so we're both in the frame? Okay, perfect. I have my screen down a little bit, but thank you for participating here. So I'm asking people about animals. And I'm wondering if you think that animals have rights, like non-human animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you believe they deserve rights? What rights do you think, like, as far as like maybe domesticated animals go? Like, I'm not talking about maybe like, a hyena or kind of an animal in a wild setting, but like as far as the animals around us who we interact with from a day-to-day life, what rights would you say they deserve?
I don't know. Food, shelter, like good food, good shelter, good care.
Would you say they also have certain negative rights, like the rights to not have certain things happen to them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like not, I don't know, abusing them or something like that. You know what I mean? Just like basic.
Yeah. And when you say abuse, would that include just like basically stealing from them or hurting them, like taking away like parts of their body or taking their life, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess as an animal rights activist, what animals would you say that I most likely speak up for?
Well, I assume that you don't eat meat, so I assume that you advocate for animals like pigs, cows, chickens, etc. Stuff that is commonly eaten by people.
Precisely. Yeah. And what do you think about that in terms of recognizing like rights in farmed animals, like cows, pigs, turkeys, chickens, fishes?
What do you mean? What do I think about it?
How do you feel about the idea of viewing them as bearers of rights, where we recognize their like bodily autonomy and don't interfere with them?
I mean, I love animals. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that all animals should have rights. I don't think it matters if people eat them or not, or like whatever. I'm not saying it doesn't matter if people eat them. I'm saying it doesn't matter what the animal is. I mean, obviously it deserves rights.
Yeah, just because people do certain things to them, in other words, I think what you're saying is it doesn't take away their rights just because some people might violate them. Yeah. Are you vegan?
I'm not.
And I guess
my roommate is.
I'm sorry?
My roommate is.
Your roommate is? Okay, so I guess then it kind of brings us to the point where it seems like your morals are actually in line with veganism, right? Because you won't imagine, I mean, you could imagine maybe how many people I talk to who say, well, we raised them for this purpose. God put them here on the earth for us. That's what they're here to do. We need to eat animals for protein. What else are we going to do with these animals, right? If we stop eating them, then they're going to either take over the world or they're going to go extinct. It's always like Schrodinger's animal.
They could do that. I wouldn't be too mad if they took over the world. But I mean, yeah. No, I agree. I think that my morals are absolutely in line with veganism. It's just not realistic for me at the moment to be doing that because of like my own personal reasons. But I agree with that. I think it's great. I think that animals have rights. I don't think it's our place to say as people what we do to them, and we're not God. It's not our place. So
yeah. Have you ever seen, out of curiosity, like footage from like factory, like slaughterhouses, things like that?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. And I know like you seem like maybe you're in college or. Okay, I was just gonna say because I know that also some classes are actually when you said yeah, I thought maybe you might have been in a class that explored the topic or something like that, but it's just maybe something you've seen on your own.
Yeah, I mean it's just stuff that I've seen on my own. I have my roommate is vegan, and then I have another close friend of mine who is vegan and very, very extreme about like animal rights and stuff like that. I'm not saying extreme in a negative way at all. I'm just saying he's very passionate about it, and a lot of people would view it as extreme, but we have discussions about that stuff sometimes. So it's just kind of like, I know I've seen it. I like to learn about the world. So.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned like personal reasons, so I don't want to pry into that. But I would just try to kind of impress upon you this urgency, because I think if any of us were in the position of those animals, we would want this all to change like yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you, and I know that I'm not a perfect person for having these views and having these like moral whatever.
It's just inconsistency,
and still
right?
eating, still eating animal products
and it doesn't make you a bad person.
And stuff like that. Yeah, no.
It's just have you ever heard of cognitive dissonance? Yeah. So I think that's essentially what everything boils down to, because I think you do have those values. I think your heart is definitely has the animals in its purview, but it's just a matter of getting your actions on board with those values. One thing I would like to warn you about, though, is that if you do go forward long enough in a state of cognitive dissonance, what ends up happening is that sometimes if our actions are out of line with our morals, the actions will almost kind of pull the morals closer to them so that we can at least feel more comfortable with our actions. So I would just encourage you to kind of safeguard your heart against closing off toward animals.
I don't think I would ever. I don't think that would be me. I don't know. I know myself. I don't think that would be me. I think that it would be something that I would do if I could sustain it and myself at the moment. But like right now, like I said, it's not realistic, but it's not something that I would like shove off in the future and stuff like that.
It's good to hear. And I don't mean to push you forward and or push you into something that you don't feel personally is right for you. But if you do have any questions, I guess, without me prying into exact reasoning of just like things that might be holding you back.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, what I'd recommend doing, at least, if you could promise me to watch something, it's by an activist named Gary Yourofsky. It's called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. It's from I believe it's like a Georgia Tech a lecture, basically a lecture. Could you promise me that you'll watch that?
Yeah. What's it called again?
It's called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. Yeah, by Gary Yourofsky. All right, Grace, it was?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for stopping. Appreciate it. Have a good day. All right. Thank you, Erwin, for echoing my sentiment there. The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear by Gary Yourofsky is something that I recommend that non-vegans watch. B. Landon says, what's his opinion on fish? So fishes are animals. They feel pain. They're sentient beings. We don't want to hurt them. Let me get some water before we keep going. It's like 85 degrees out right now. I've already drank actually not most, maybe almost half of this water, but definitely good to stay hydrated. Okay. So thank you to everybody for being here. If you're not already subscribed, do subscribe. I'm doing activism probably 2 to 3 times a week, like outreach type stuff. So more people that subscribe, the more reach we have, and the more people we're able to help turn vegan. And that goes for your chat comments too. So the more comments that people have put into the chat, the more activity engagement we have. Grey Wolf says, "Get thirsty, bothering people." I'm not sure what that means. I was thirsty because it's like I said, 85, 86 degrees out. 85 degrees with a high of 86. Camper says, harassing. I'm just standing here. I'm literally just standing here holding this sign. I'm not walking up to anybody. I'm just. Mike says, "Do you know that pants feel pain?" I did not know that. I don't think that pants feel pain. He says plants. I've never heard that before. I'm kidding. I've heard that. I hear that every day. Plants, they don't have a nervous system, right? If you guys know the vegan teacher, she has that song. Plants don't feel pain. They don't have a brain. They don't have a nervous system, so it's okay to bite into them. You have a heart. You know where to start. So share this song and be vegan from now on. But yeah, even if plants did feel pain, it takes more plants to farm animals. So if you care about the feeling of plants, if you care that plants feel pain and you want to reduce plant casualties, you would actually eat them directly. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but a cow needs about 16 times the amount of calories to sustain themselves as a human, and of course they have to eat something when they're farmed. So the key is stop breeding cows and just eat the plants directly ourselves. If you care about plants, I don't think that people who say that genuinely do care about plants, though, because if they did, then they'd be like, "Oh snap! I've been doing this all wrong, trying to save plants by eating animals. I should just be eating the plants myself." RR says, what the last time you ate meat?" So I've been vegan for almost 13 years, and I stopped eating animals about 2 years before that, so almost 15 years. So I guess that would be around like 2010. Grace Victoria says, "Is alcohol vegan?" For people who are of legal age to drink, they can find alcohol that's vegan and they can find alcohol that's not vegan. If you are of drinking age and you wish to look into this, there is a website called Barnivore, which can help you with that. Hi, would you like to participate?
Sure.
All right, great. Do you mind being live on my YouTube channel?
Sure.
All right, great. Are you guys both going to participate?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to back way up here just so we can all be in the frame. People might walk in between, but it's all right.
That's okay.
All right. What are your guys' names?
My name is Jor.
Jor. Cool. What's your name?
Will.
Will. Cool. Nice to meet you guys. So, I'm asking. I'm Haas. Thank you for reminding me. I have so many different conversations throughout the week. I sometimes forget the little basic stuff. So, yeah, I'm Haas, and my channel is called Haas Vegan on YouTube. That's where we're live. I think there are like maybe 120 people watching last time I checked. So, my question is about animals. So, I recently heard about some studies where burn research was basically testing the effects of burns on dogs, where dogs were basically having like some patch of fur shaved off them and then having like a metal plate pressed on them to burn them. I'm wondering what you guys think about that, like the idea of testing on animals, like for human benefit, if it involves like hurting animals.
Yeah, I think it's fucking disgusting. I don't really have much else other to say than that because I grew up training dogs for dog training and obedience, that kind of stuff, all in very, very humane ways. No violence, no pain, no anything like that. And in general, most animals, like a pig, dog, etc., they are on pretty high intelligence levels. They feel pain, they feel empathy, they love, they hate, they so on and so forth. So if you wouldn't do it to your friend, why would you do it to your animal?
Do you agree?
Say less. I mean, I agree.
Great. I'm wondering if you extend that then to like the use of animals for food, for example.
For me, it depends on the animal. I am hesitant to say yes. At the same time, I'm hesitant to say no. I do for myself. I tried to go on a vegan diet for a while, and it entirely destroyed my stomach because I have a chronic stomach condition. I basically can't get protein unless I'm eating certain types of meat. But I try to source those from locally farmed places, not going to big, industrial places, not going to Jewel Osco, not going
That's
to.
true. You do hit up local farms.
Yes. And so I think in that case, I think that is in general part of life. Like I believe that the world would be a much better place if everyone had to hunt for their food, because then you're not mass producing in that way that is harming so many animals. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
What do you think?
Me personally, I used to eat a lot of meat. I probably eat it now like 3-4 times a week, maybe once with a meal. Mostly tofu is how I get a lot of my protein source now. Same with protein powder and whatnot. And also be hitting the gym and stuff, so it's not really like affecting, like not eating meat as much as I used to isn't affecting my ability to like get protein. But I also don't have a stomach condition, so yeah, I'd be sourcing a lot of my protein from tofu, soybeans, different amino acid complex chains with like supplements and stuff. So after kind of diving into the world of like meatless protein sources, you can find there's a lot of ways to get a lot of protein without
pea protein. That
actually
is a good way that does work for me.
Yeah.
I will say and this is how I get around eating a ton of meat and only going to locally sourced places when they're available. Is I use only what you need. It's a protein powder that is like made for like people with Crohn's and whatnot. And so like that works great, but it's one of the few things that does. So you just kind of got to figure it out. It's it's a learning process for sure.
Yeah, interesting story from my own life. So I was diagnosed with autoimmune pancreatitis at one point. And then a few years later, I basically had symptoms of Crohn's and ulcerative colitis.
Yep.
And I was basically diagnosed with something called indeterminate colitis. So basically, colitis that has features of both. So it has like thickening of of the inner lumen, I guess, of the intestines, seen with Crohn's and like the patch lesions, but also like worse in the terminal kind of areas, as seen more with ulcerative colitis. Doctors had recommended for me to eat like I guess like a low fiber diet, like they called the low residue diet. They gave me a list of all the different things they recommended, like cottage cheese and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm not telling you what to do in terms of like medical advice, stuff like that. For me, I was able to overcome that actually going like raw fruitarian for a long time. So I basically stopped eating.
What is that exactly?
So I basically stopped eating things with like hard edges. So, and this isn't necessarily part of like a raw fruitarian diet, but what I did was basically just eat like similarly to the Dr. Doug Graham. He has a diet called 80-10-10. So 80% of calories from carbohydrate, 10% from fat, 10% from protein. It was just basically as much fresh raw food as I could possibly find. I was living in San Diego at the time as well, so I had access to like a ton of raw produce. So I would eat like some days I would just have like what's called mono meals, where I would have like bananas for a meal, watermelons for a meal, just like stuff that was really simple for my digestive system, very hydrating, things like that. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but in my case, in my case, I mean, I think getting out a lot of that pro-inflammatory stuff, and I had been, to be perfectly honest, I had been vegan for several years before this diagnosis, and I've remained vegan, through everything.
And
So,
ask a question.
sure.
What is the hard edges? You said you avoid things with hard edges.
Yeah, not anymore, but for some time, like while I was doing this like fruit-based thing, I just avoided like chips, crackers, nuts, like anything that I would have to anything that wasn't soft and fleshy, basically. But yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is then let's just kind of grant, just for the sake of discussion, that you might need to consume some amount of animal protein, just for the sake of discussion. So I guess would it be fair to say that you guys are opposed, like unethical grounds, to something like a circus that would use animals, or like
yeah. I don't think that should be supported at all. Yeah, no.
Yes,
Especially
I do not.
Yeah. Especially big animals, intelligent animals. None at all, really.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like your guys' hearts are in the right place when it comes to like other animals. I'm wondering, are you guys familiar with the dairy industry?
Yes. Yeah. I don't really like drinking milk all that much anymore.
It's for babies, right?
Yeah.
It is, and also it's
That's
like
a whole other conversation.
Literally for babies.
a very small genetically like group of Northern Europeans who can handle milk because of like farming was hard in the northern winters, and sure, that's a whole thing. But like with modern agriculture, and you don't need to be drinking milk the same way that people drink it, and the dairy industry is pushing it onto us. There's like a big dairy lobby in America right now.
Subsidies, tax breaks, bailouts.
Dairy farmers, like the one way they make money is through government subsidies. That's like the main way that they make money. It's not something that I think people should chronically be drinking the way that like Got Milk is pushing their I think big milk is like literally a thing.
Yeah, the government will buy out their excess, store it in a warehouse, then slowly siphon it off to school lunch
I
programs.
switched to soy milk. I'm a soy boy. That is
Yeah.
I love soy milk. I love the flavor, the taste, the texture. Everything about soy milk is hell yeah.
Oat milk.
Yeah, there's so many alternatives that can literally do the same thing, if not better, and it has more use cases. You can make yogurt out of soy milk. You can do everything literally milk can do with soy milk. It should be the main milk substitute, if not the main milk people use. And I'm fully on board with that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys realize, I was in my 20s when I realized that a cow actually has to become pregnant to give milk. Some people, like I've told this to like postmenopausal women who literally like just made the connection right when I shared it with them. Like, wait, what? Yeah. Like, and obviously they're not getting pregnant on their own. So they're getting pregnant because a farmer has to collect semen, by hand or through a machine. It's bestiality basically for unnecessary foods, right? So I appreciate you guys stopping. I think Jor, right?
Yes.
I think your situation might be a little bit different, but I'd encourage you to try to get your ethics as close as you can. Your actions to your ethics.
I mean, and this the way I feel about it is it happening in a humane way? And that's really hard to actually find. Just because it says it's organic or it's natural or whatever does not mean it's humane. And so, actually getting humane meat, normally I would have to go to a local butcher. I'd have to find out how they're raising their cows, how they're raising. I don't even really eat beef that much, but normally I go for chicken. to find out how they're raising their chickens. Are they using growth hormones? Are they on a pasture? Are they, locked up in a cage? Like, what is happening there? And then how, like, are they living a good life, versus them getting prodded and shoved into a container and, like you said, burned with metal or something like that. I think there is a large difference there. I think that I think there are ways to do it. I think there are ways to enjoy meat that are humane, but I think it's a lot more difficult and it requires a lot more research. And most people aren't willing to do that research, and that's where we kind of run into problems.
I'd encourage you to look a little bit more into like the humane farming type stuff by checking out some undercover footage.
Sure.
Because actually, the animals by and large end up in the same slaughterhouses.
Sure.
So it's kind of like we have this idea when we hear this label that kind of helps us assuage our own guilt a little bit. I was for some time looking into buying cage-free eggs back when I consumed eggs, and then I realized that cage-free just means that they're all crammed into a shed. They're just not literally in cages moving on each other.
To be clear, I'm so like I get most of my chicken and most of my eggs from friends of mine that all have chickens. So like that's how I know that it's humane, because we're doing it ourselves. So it's like it's not going out to something like that. So like here's the thing: here in Chicago, if you have chickens, you can write your house off as a homestead. And then you have eggs, and you don't have to treat them like shit, and you don't have to. I hope I'm not swearing is allowed, but then you don't have to throw them into a pen like you said, or you don't have to wonder, is it actually humane to the standard that I have? Just do it yourself, and that's kind of where I came back to hunting and stuff like that. So like that is a nice thing you can do. You can have chickens here in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the egg thing, I mean, it's possible. It's possible to extract eggs from a chicken with a lot less cruelty than, like, let's say, killing an animal and eating them. I would say that if you're using a chicken for eggs, though, you're still viewing them as a resource. I think, like, if you think of a scenario where a person would raise a chicken and care for them regardless of whether they produce eggs or not, I think that's kind of a different scenario than a person who, like, let's say, adopts or rescues or buys chickens for the purpose of getting eggs for them. The other thing is that you can feed the eggs back to a chicken. The way that chickens have been bred now, so they come originally from a bird called the red jungle fowl, who would lay maybe like 12 to 15 eggs per year. But nowadays, chickens are laying about 350 eggs per year, maybe 320 eggs per year. So they're literally having a period pretty much every day. Which, if you think about, like, what women go through, when they're on their period, imagine just like basically ovulating, like having a period every single day. So it's obviously like their bodies have become kind of like genetic monstrosities. Same with the chickens who are raised for meat. Like, they're called broiler hens. They've been bred in such a way that the current stock of broiler hens, whether they're raised like humanely or not, basically means that they grow so large that their breasts basically are on the floor and they're unable to walk around, and they're killed at a fraction of their natural lifespan. Think about like turkeys. The annual turkey pardon results in a pardoning of a bird who lives like maybe at most just one more year, because again, they've been basically different like mutations and genetic abnormalities have been selected for. It's not like genetic modification per se, but it's like selective breeding. You see change. We're basically like fast tracking evolution, but it's not actual evolution because it's not traits that are beneficial for them. It's beneficial for our instrumentalization of those traits. So I'd encourage you guys to check out a speech. It's by an activist named Gary Yourofsky. It's called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. If you guys would check that out, I think that would be something that can kind of sum up this idea of like anti-human supremacy, which is what I'm kind of advocating for here. And I appreciate the honesty and candor with which you guys engage with this. There's people who are a lot less open toward different perspectives and things like that. So I do appreciate that.
So and part of it for me is I am very open to those perspectives. I originally went to school for engineering to try to. I was working on trying to create a new type of clean energy generator, and I ended up entirely swapping my career because I realized that all those things already exist, but our government won't allow us to put them into place because then they will lose money. And so, like, for me, the biggest problem is like, and I'm not trying to degrade or anything you're saying, but to convince people on a mass scale that, like, sure, like you might reach me, a person who's already open to it, but on a mass scale, people in a city like this that want to go to McDonald's, they don't care. They want their quick thing. And like, I know a lot of people, they're like, yeah, no, I saw the videos. Okay, well, how do you feel about that? I need my McDonald's burger. So like trying to find a way to manipulate that system so that these people who refuse to change their minds can still get what they want, while we can do it in a more ethical way. Now that I don't have an answer to. That is just something that I feel that like to create mass change, something of that magnitude would need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, systemic change always follows individual change, though,
Yes, of course.
because the top doesn't try to steer things.
Yeah.
It looks down and says what's going to be popular, what's actually going to be voted on.
Of course.
It just so happens to be the case so that we do have some sway with our spending.
Yeah.
That being said, of course, as we talked about earlier, the subsidies and bailouts, that kind of stuff, does control a lot of the economics, so that it's like kind of more supply side driven economics, where demand is kind of like they'll just print more money and overcome a lot of the different changes in demand. But that's where protesting and kind of speaking up and letting our voices be heard really comes into the picture. So we can all just be part of that tide.
Yeah.
Everybody who's alive right now is not going to be alive in probably 150 years.
Yeah.
So it's just like the indoctrination of the youth, basically, where people are taught this idea of speciesism. It's the first form of discrimination that we're taught, that some animals' lives matter more than others, and of course, to some extent, that's maybe within all of us. Like if I was walking down the street and I saw an ant who had gotten stepped on, versus if I came across a dog who had gotten stepped on and was dying on the street, my reaction would of course be different to either of them. But I would just encourage you guys to check out that speech, and then also just think about the idea of what humane means. There's a saying among kind of the vegan side that basically the litmus test of whether or not something is humane is if you would want it to be done to yourself. And when you think about it, it sometimes really is that simple. So I'll just let you guys kind of marinate with that maybe. And what was your name? Will. Okay, cool. Will and Jor, thank you guys so much for stopping.
If I can, the last thing I'll say is,
Sure.
to me, I think the biggest thing is get involved in local communities. I mean, protesting is great, boycotting is great, but I think also get involved in your local communities. Like right now, I can't name the name of the what do you call it, the company, due to NDA things. However, I'm currently working with a company that essentially it's based on the south side. It is all about growing crops in the most beneficial way possible and giving those jobs to immigrants to do that, and so that they also can use their skills and whatnot in order to do something that is a little bit better for the world. So it's like things like that. Just find, if you're interested in this, if you're interested in whatever, go ahead, Google whatever your local groups are and get started in that. I think that is, in my opinion, one of the best things you can do. Because that's how you in my opinion, that is how you start making actual change.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, as far as the vegan thing goes, I mean, veganism is just basically the principle that we ought to live without exploiting animals. So if a person is doing whatever they can within their power to live in that kind of a way, they are vegan. So like, for example, if there was an Eskimo or something in Alaska, and I dropped or maybe even someone in Antarctica, and I airdropped like a book like all about veganism to them, and they read it and they were like, man, like this actually makes sense. Like this is totally in line with how I see the world, how I want to live. If they kept living in Antarctica, they're not going to be able to grow any plants there. They're not going to be able to Amazon Prime something to their igloo, right? So they could theoretically still be eating animals to survive and still be vegan. Just like if I was in a plane crash in the Andes and I ended up eating a passenger on the plane who had already died, and I just started eating their leg or something to survive, that wouldn't make me not vegan. So it has to do with honesty with yourself as well, and just kind of doing the best you can. And no one can say whether a person is actually being honest with themselves other than that person. So it just comes down to you and your own conscience, basically.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for stopping. Appreciate your time. All right, take care, guys. All right, yeah, be well, and best speech you'll ever hear. All right. All right, well, that was an interesting conversation. I see 61 people here. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't yet liked the stream, give me a double tap right here. All right. And thank you guys all for being here. Yeah, it's always, I kind of struggle when people mention like medical issue type things, because I never want to be kind of like standing between